After wife's birthday, she cheated on me with my cousin, and my parents demanded that I not ruin their new relationship, so I went and took car I had given her. Now she cry and asks. Amy's 23rd birthday was supposed to be special. We'd been together for a year and a half, and though we'd had our ups and downs, I thought we were solid. I planned the whole evening dinner at her favorite restaurant, drinks with our friends, and a surprise gift, a sleek white sedan she'd been dreaming about. It was a little out of my budget, but I wanted her to feel loved, to know that I was all in. The night started out great. We were surrounded by laughter, music, and everyone we cared about. Somewhere between the cake cutting and the second round of shots, Amy disappeared. I didn't think much of it at first. I figured she was catching up with friends or getting some air. When she came back half an hour later, she was a little flustered, but she shrugged it off and said she ran into an old friend. The party continued and nothing seemed out of place. She hugged me, thanked me for the car, and said it was the best birthday ever. Looking back, that moment feels like the punchline to a cruel joke. The next day, my cousin John called me out of the blue. We weren't particularly close. He was one of those family members you only really see at weddings or holidays. He asked to meet me and said it was urgent. I thought maybe he needed a favor or something, so I agreed. When we met, he didn't waste any time. He confessed right then and there that he and Amy had slept together during the party. He said she came on to him, and he didn't want things to escalate further without me knowing. Like that would make it better. I didn't say a word. I just hit him. Hard. My fist connected with his jaw and he stumbled back, but I didn't care. I told him to stay the hell away from me and walked away. All the way home my mind was racing. How could she do this? At her own birthday party, with me right there? When I got home, she was waiting for me. I don't know how she found out, but she must have known something was wrong. There was screaming, crying, it was chaos. I didn't hold back. Amy, I said, go on without me. You'll probably like it better with John. She just stared at me, tears streaming down her face, but I wasn't done. And you don't deserve the car I gave you. I grabbed my keys, slammed the door, and drove away. The next few days were a blur. I crashed at a buddy's house and ignored Amy's calls and texts. I didn't know what to do. Everything felt surreal, like I was trapped in someone else's nightmare. My cousin and my wife. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Then my parents called. They wanted me to come over for dinner to talk things out. I wasn't in the mood for family drama, but they insisted it was important. I figured they'd be on my side, telling me I did the right thing by leaving. Maybe I'd feel less alone in all this. I was wrong. As soon as I walked into their house, the air felt different. My mom and dad were sitting at the dining room table, looking unusually serious. I thought they'd start with sympathy, maybe some words of comfort, but instead my dad said, "We need to talk about Amy and John." I froze. My stomach dropped. My mom chimed in. "Look, honey, what happened isn't your fault. But it's not their fault either. These things happen." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not her fault? I said. She cheated on me with John. At her birthday party. What part of that isn't her fault? My dad held up his hand like he was mediating a business meeting. Son, listen. If she did that, it means she has feelings for John. You can't force people to stay where they're not happy. If they want to be together, maybe you should just let them. I stared at her in disbelief. She's my wife. We're not even divorced yet. And you're telling me to let them be? My mother nodded as if this was all perfectly reasonable. You have to give them freedom. It's not like anyone planned this. Feelings are complicated. I couldn't speak. I was in a stupor, like I'd entered some parallel universe where loyalty meant nothing. They kept talking, saying how I shouldn't hold a grudge, how I should move on, and let them figure out their relationship. Finally, I stood up and said, "If that's how you feel, then I have nothing more to say." I walked out before they could stop me. That night, Amy called again. Her voice was trembling, almost desperate. "If it's really over, can you at least leave me the car?" I needed to get to work. I couldn't believe her audacity. "You're joking, right?" I said and hung up. The next morning, I went to her house, grabbed the spare key, and brought the car back. When she came out, she was crying and begging me to reconsider. But I didn't care. If she wanted to play house with John, she could do it without the car I worked my ass off to pay for. After I took the car, things escalated quickly. Word spread through the family faster than I could blink. Suddenly everyone had an opinion. My aunt called me, furious, claiming I was being vindictive for taking the car back. My cousin, her precious son, was apparently in love, and I should let them be happy. I didn't respond. I didn't owe her or anyone else an explanation. My phone buzzed with calls and messages for days. Half were from relatives who thought I was overreacting, and the other half were from Amy. She wasn't just asking for the car anymore, she wanted to talk. She said she'd made a mistake, that she'd do anything to make things right. But I wasn't interested in her excuses. She'd made her choice. I remained silent until I received a message from my Uncle John's father. It was just a single line. "We need to talk. Meet me at the diner." Curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear what excuse he'd come up with to defend his son. When I got there, he was already sitting in a booth, sipping coffee. "Look," he began. "I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But John is young. He makes stupid choices. He regrets them, you know." I leaned back in my seat and let him speak. "But you taking the car back? That's low, man," he said. "Amy's stuck now. She's got no one to help her." I laughed, couldn't help it. "She's got John. He can help her. Isn't that what this is about?" He looked uncomfortable, like I'd hit a nerve. That's when I realized something. "Wait a minute. You're here because John can help her, right? What, he doesn't have a job or something?" He didn't answer, but his silence told me enough. That was all the confirmation I needed. John had always been a failure. A smooth talker, sure, but no follow-through. He hopped from one dead-end job to the next, and now he was supposed to be Amy's knight in shining armor? I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. As I left the diner, I decided I was done entertaining anyone's pleas or guilt trips. They wanted me to make their lives easier while I was the one left picking up the pieces. But then, a week later, I found out something that made me see red all over again. Amy had moved in with John. They rented a small apartment in the next town over, and the kicker? She hadn't even filed for divorce yet. Finding out that Amy and John were living together before we were even divorced hit me like a second betrayal. It wasn't just the cheating anymore, it was the audacity. She hadn't even had the decency to break things off properly before moving in with my cousin. At first I thought about confronting her again, but what would that change? Instead, I decided to focus on getting my own life back on track. I met with a lawyer to start the divorce process, even though I knew it would be messy. As much as I wanted to cut ties, I still felt I needed closure. A week later, I received a call from my younger sister, Emma. She's the one person in the family who's always had my back, and she sounded angry. "You're not going to believe this," she said. Apparently, Amy and John had been making the rounds with a sob story about how I had ruined their fresh start by taking the car. According to them, I'd overreacted and was now punishing them financially. My parents had even offered to loan them money to help them through their difficult situation. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. Emma wasn't done. "It gets worse. John's been telling people that you're delaying the divorce just to mess with Amy. He's acting like he's some hero who swooped in to save her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Save her from what? A faithful husband who bought her a car. "Exactly," Emma said. "They're twisting the whole thing, and the worst part is that some of the family is actually buying it." I hung up and tried to calm down, but my blood was boiling. They cheated, lied, and humiliated me, and now they were playing victim? I wasn't going to let them control the narrative. The next day, I showed up unannounced at my parents' house. My father opened the door, surprised to see me. "What's going on?" he asked. "I need to set the record straight," I said, walking past him into the living room. My mom was there too, sitting with a cup of tea as if nothing was wrong. "I know you talked to Amy and John," I said, getting right to the point. "And I know you're helping them out financially. But let me remind you of something: they betrayed me. Not the other way around." My mother started to say something, but I held up my hand. "No, you need to hear this. Amy and I are still married. She cheated on me with my cousin. And now she's playing the victim because I took back the car I paid for? Are you really okay with that?" My dad sighed. "Son, we're not taking sides, Dash. By supporting her, you already have," I interrupted. "And you're enabling their behavior." They didn't have much to say after that. I left, not caring if I'd burn bridges. Later that night, Amy called again. This time she wasn't crying. Her tone was colder, more calculated. "Why are you making this so hard?" she asked. "If you just sign the papers and let us move on, everyone will be happier." "Funny," I said. "You didn't care about my happiness when you were sneaking around with John." I hung up before she could answer. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day I got a call from a friend who worked at a local auto body shop. "Hey man," he said, "you might want to come down here. I got something to show you." When my buddy called from the garage, I didn't know what to expect. He didn't say much, just that it was about the car. My first thought was that maybe Amy had tried to do something like report it stolen or vandalize it out of spite. When I got there, he led me around to the back of the shop. "You're not going to believe this," he said, pointing to one of the elevators. There, high off the ground, was my car. The one I'd taken back from Amy. "What the hell is it doing here?" I asked. He shrugged. "Some guy brought it in this morning. Said he wanted a full tune-up, but something felt off." He seemed nervous. "What did he look like?" I asked, though I already had a sinking feeling in my gut. He hesitated. "Tall, kind of scruffy, dark hair. Looked like a younger version of you, really." "John!" I clenched my fists, barely able to contain my anger. "He brought my car here?" "Yeah, but here's the kicker," my friend said with a grin. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a spare key. "I checked the system, your name is still on the title. He hasn't even bothered to change it. Legally, it's still yours." I stared at the car, my mind racing. John must have had Amy convince him they could use it temporarily or something, thinking I wouldn't find out. It wasn't just disrespect, it was pure stupidity. "What are you going to do?" my friend asked. I didn't have to think twice. "Bring it down. I'll take it." He grinned and lowered the elevator. 10 minutes later, I was driving away in my car, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and anger. Of course, it didn't take long for the fallout to begin. Amy called me first, but I ignored her. Then came a series of texts from John, all full of profanity and threats. "You had no right to take it. This is harassment, man. I'm calling the cops." I laughed when I read the last one. Called the cops? On me? Over a car that was still legally mine? I blocked his number and went home. That night, Emma came over with a bottle of whiskey and an update. "You've really stirred things up now," she said. "Let me guess, Mom and Dad are pissed?" She nodded. "They say you're being petty again. But honestly, I think it's hilarious. John's losing his mind, and Amy's calling everyone, trying to figure out what to do." I poured us both a drink, feeling a rare moment of relief. "Good," I said. "Let her deal with it. I'm done cleaning up their mess." But just when I thought I could finally put this behind me, Emma hit me with another bombshell. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this," she said carefully, "but you should know. Amy's been trying to meet with a lawyer. Not for divorce. She's asking for alimony." I froze. Alimony? She's the one who cheated. Why the hell would she think she's entitled to anything? Emma shrugged. "She's probably desperate. John can't support her, and now she's scrambling." Hearing that brought back all the anger I'd been trying to bury. Amy wanted to cheat, lie, and humiliate me, and now she thought she could take money from me? Not a chance. I wasn't going to let her win, but I had a feeling this was just the beginning of another battle. The idea of Amy going after alimony was almost laughable almost. I knew the system could be messy, and if she managed to spin some sob story, I'd end up in court trying to prove I wasn't the bad guy. It wasn't a fight I wanted, but if she was going to push, I was going to push back harder. The next morning I called my lawyer to tell him what Emma had found out. He didn't seem surprised. "It's not unusual," he said. "But don't worry. If you can prove the infidelity, it's unlikely she'll get a dime." "Prove?" I asked, frustrated. "Isn't the fact that she lives with John enough?" "Not quite," he said. "It's a strong indicator, but courts like hard evidence, texts, photos, witnesses. Anything that leaves no room for interpretation." Fortunately, I had plenty of people who knew the truth. Emma, my friend from the garage, even some mutual friends who had been at the party and pieced together what had happened. Still, the thought of dragging this through the legal system made my stomach turn. Then, as if the universe wanted to pile on, I got another call from Amy. Against my better judgment, I answered it. "You're being so unfair," she began. I didn't want it to end like this. I kept my voice calm, even though every word she said made me want to scream. "Unfair? You cheated on me with my cousin. What part of that is fair?" "I made a mistake," she said, her tone changing to something more manipulative. "But we had something real, and I don't understand why you're trying to ruin my life now. Can't you just let me move on?" "Move on?" I laughed bitterly. "You're living with John and trying to get child support from me. How is that moving on?" There was a pause, then she said something I'll never forget. "I wouldn't have to do this if you hadn't taken the car. You left me no choice." I hung up without saying another word. The next day, my lawyer called again with an update. "I looked into it," he said. "She hasn't officially filed for alimony yet, but she's definitely talking to lawyers. My advice? Get ahead of this. File for divorce now and include a no alimony clause. That way you control the narrative." It sounded like a sound plan. I went in the next day and signed the papers to start the process. It was cathartic, like taking the first real step toward freedom. But things didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days later, Emma called me, her voice full of urgency. "You're not going to believe this. Amy and John showed up at Mom and Dad's house. They're trying to get them to testify against you in the divorce." I couldn't even speak for a moment. Testify against me? What could they possibly say? "Who knows?" she said. "But they'll tell Mom and Dad that you're being vindictive, that you're dragging this out just to punish them." Hearing that flipped a switch in me. It wasn't enough for Amy to cheat and humiliate me, now she was trying to drag my parents into this mess and turn them against me? That night, I went to my parents' house unannounced. When I walked in, I didn't bother with pleasantries. "Are you seriously thinking about helping Amy and John?" My mother looked uncomfortable, but my father spoke first. "We're just trying to keep the peace. This is getting out of hand, and if testifying helps everyone move on." "Move on?" I cut him off. "You think siding with my cheating wife and my cousin is the way to move on? Do you have any idea what that does to me?" They didn't answer, but their silence said enough. "That's it," I said, turning to leave. "If you want to support them, don't expect to hear from me again." As I walked out, I realized that I wasn't just divorcing Amy. I was also divorcing part of my family. Here's a rewritten version with less detail. After I left my parents' house, I stopped trying to reason with anyone. If my family wanted to side with Amy and John, they could have it. I focused on finalizing the divorce and moving on, but they weren't making it easy. One day Emma texted me to check Facebook. I opened it and found pictures of Amy and John together, smiling and cozy in their new apartment. The caption read, "Sometimes love finds you when you least expect it." The comments were even worse, people congratulating them, acting like their relationship was a fairy tale. I felt a mixture of anger and disgust, but I remained silent. Then my attorney called with more bad news. Amy's lawyer had filed for temporary spousal support. They claimed I was leaving her in financial limbo and deliberately dragging out the divorce. I was furious, but my lawyer assured me that we had a strong case. With evidence of the affair and the fact that she was living with John, we fought back hard. But before the court could even rule, something unexpected happened. Emma called me and said that John had been arrested for shoplifting. Apparently, he tried to steal some cell phones to sell for cash. This was the final nail in the coffin for Amy's claims. The court denied her request for spousal support, and the divorce was finalized shortly thereafter. Not long after that, Amy called me one last time. She said she'd made a mistake, that John wasn't who she thought he was, and that she still loved me. I didn't even let her finish. "You made your choice, Amy," I said. "Now live with it." That was the last time we ever spoke. I heard through the family that she and John had broken up, but I didn't care anymore. The chapter was finally closed, and I could move on with my life.